Pompeo makes unprecedented visits to Israeli settlement in West Bank and Golan. Sam, that's the headline of the BBC article. What is Pompeo trying to achieve with this, as the BBC correctly wrote, unprecedented visits?
Yeah, to be honest, yeah, let's just say that, I mean, it's unprecedented because he's visiting places that are considered internationally, these settlements are considered internationally illegal because they're on occupied territory of unresolved status. And he's a Secretary of State, so he's pretty much as high ranking as it gets. What is he trying to achieve? That's a good question. I think there have been reports that Trump may be planning to run in 2024, and he may start his run very fast, like immediately, basically, following the inauguration of Joe Biden. So this may be a political stunt in a way, in that sense that we are supporters of Israel for the IPEC in US, the Israeli lobby, as well as the hardcore Christian community in Pennsylvania, in those type of areas in America. Although it does seem somewhat misguided in a sense that they offered these groups so much, and these groups did come out for Trump a lot in this election, but it wasn't enough. They still lost Pennsylvania. That may be one goal. There are also other reports that actually Pompeo may be thinking of running himself. So this may be more of a political stunt for himself rather than for Trump, sort of building up his own. I mean, I don't think he needs any more building up in terms of reputation as a pro-Israeli, as a hardcore Christian. In fact, if it was quite interesting, in his press conference with Netanyahu, he did. It wasn't so much. He didn't refer to religious text, but he kept referring to the historical importance of these places for the Jewish community and for the Christian community. So it did have some uh, religious or historical undertones or that type of thing. Because he's a genuine hardcore Christian fundamentalist, really. That's what he is. So that's maybe another goal they're trying to achieve. Another possible goal that they may be trying to achieve is that they're they keep trying to push their support as much as they can. This makes it far harder for Biden administration to pull back. The more they push, the less he can pull it back. I mean, there is already little hope, at least from me, or I think most people would agree. There is, to be honest, no hope of, for example, America returning their embassy to Tel Aviv. I think Biden is going to continue. I mean, that's been the trend with U.S. presidents. Even the ones that are not as supportive of Israel, they don't tend to roll back the policies that are already in effect in support of Israel. So they are trying to make things harder for Biden administration in terms of not supporting Israel, or uh, perhaps potentially some people have mentioned uh, in reaching a deal with Iran. Because Israel is always a point of contention with Iran as well. So they may be trying to make it harder for them to uh, make peace with Iran regionally. That may be another goal of them trying to achieve. But I think that's the three things that I can think of that they're trying to achieve. Uh, Probably the second important question here is that what it means. I think what it means is that all the people who saw the UAE, Bahrain, and Sudanese peace with Israelis as a stop to settlement building, or potentially, I don't know who thought that, but maybe some people thought they can even retake some of the existing land occupied by Israel. To be honest, they should kiss that dream goodbye, because that's not happening. And I think it's another sign that shows that the peace with UAE and Bahrain and Sudan had little to do with Palestinian issue, or the idea that the settlement building will be stopped in Palestine. Uh, as far as I'm concerned, the idea of a two-state solution or an independent Palestine is dead. I think Palestinian people are better off trying to, uh, whatever land they have, join it with existing Arab nations or applying for citizenship in richer Arab countries. Uh, Other than that, I think that's what it means. And the other thing that it probably means is that any country trying to, uh, again, this is probably because I'm Iranian, so I focus on this side of the thing. But if a country like Iran now wants to deal with Joe Biden, they know that the next administration might be very, very, again, it might be Trump-like and extremely supportive of Israel. So, you know, uh, in terms of sending a message in the region, it sends a strong message that, you know, even if this administration, even if for 4 years, even if for 8 years, somebody's in the White House that might not allow Israelis to unleash their full force in the region, then there is going to be somebody who does that. So I think that's what are the long-term implications of these type of visits. Otherwise, it's largely a political stunt. It doesn't have any significance on its own.
I think, I mean, it definitely makes a complete mockery out of the Israeli and UAE deal, the aspect about, stopping the West Bank settlements and all that, just a complete mockery of that. And it's interesting how you said, he was talking, he was visited maybe some religious sites and talked about those aspects, because I was reading and watching some stuff and he mentioned like archaeologists making new discoveries. So he had this like cultural and religious tone in his visit. And
Yeah,
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 and
exactly.
just I mean, I don't really have much to add to what you were saying, except I also read an article telling you before how they were saying, yeah, Pompeo might be running for 2024, which I don't know. I find it really funny. I find that his image is very too much now associated with hawkish foreign policy for him to be able to run as a president. But that's just me. Whereas Trump, I mean, I think that's a given. Seeing him in the 2024 primaries, that unless something drastic happens to him, I don't see how he won't be running for president in 4 years.
To to be honest, I would say before Trump came to, ran and in everyone made, we all got surprised that he won and all that. Before that, Mike Pompeo would have looked like a much more of a normal candidate, somebody similar perhaps to Rick Perry type, or evangelical American nationalistic type. But there was a recent poll of like approval of Republican politicians among the Republican voters, and I think Trump was like at 70% or 80%, and the closest one to him was, I think, Nikki Haley, which was at like 20%. So I think, yeah, people like Pompeo or anybody else, if Trump decides to run, they don't have a chance. They're all gonna get, destroyed by him. But I'm not as skeptical as you are in terms of Pompeo running himself as well. He does, like, and he's banking on nowadays with the factionalism and polarization of politics in the US, you try to like go to the extremes for your base, and Pompeo is doing that. He's serving his base like a little good soldier, and so that's what he's banking on, being a hawk in terms of foreign policy.
No, yeah, I just think it's because I didn't know his past the way you do it, so I only have this image. But that makes complete sense. And you just mentioned Nikki Haley. It reminds me that she was like very absent from this election. I guess since she was removed from her role, or I mean maybe her time finished as the representative of Trump to the UN. Haven't heard from her
She resigned.
much. Sorry,
I think she resigned
she
for like
resigned.
to do something.
Yeah.
I think to do something else.
So
Yeah.
we'll
If
probably
I'm
see her. She'll become probably a big player in the next two to
She's one
three
of
years.
she's yeah, she's very much like Pompeo and Mike Pence in a way,
Yeah.
in that she's trying to do this balancing act of not losing the Trump supporters while still keeping the old guard establishment, happy as well.
Yeah. And Sam, you spoke about two-state solution and all this. So next week on the 29th of November, it's the International Day of Solidarity with the Palestinian people. So we plan to put out a few videos talking about Palestine, Israel, and some notable people like Norman Finkelstein. So if you like this video, please make sure to like and subscribe to our channel, and we'll see you all next time.